telecom marketplace has been dramatically transformed in the 18 years since we passed the 1996 Communications Act. That act was really not forward-looking. It was about the service of its day, which was plain old telephone service. Now, of course, the landscape is fundamentally different, and today the internet stands at the core of virtually all modern communications, and that will be even more true in the future than it is at the present.
That the internet is probably the greatest force for progressive change we've ever been. The key is, how do we promote that medium, and how do we promote reliance on that medium to achieve the other progressive aims?
I think we have to remember that rewriting the Telecom Act is a little bit like buying a smartphone. If you really want one, but you don't want to buy the iPhone 5 the day before the 6 comes out, because if you're locked in. So in some ways, like, waiting longer is better because you just can't predict. It's like it's writing about something that is evolving very, very rapidly. So there's a risk of doing something because you're going to be out of date. At the same time, we're still on iPhone 1 of the Telecom Act, and now we're in iPhone 16 of the Telecom Act, so you got to do something.
And I think if you look at the Telecom Act, we've got to be very conscious that we're not going to be back at this table in 5 years trying to figure out how we create other rules to accommodate the innovation that's already outpaced the last rules that we put into place.
In a lot of ways, we should fundamentally get the principle right first. And the principle in 96 was competition. I think the principle here fundamentally has to be what the Congress did, which is about moving to all IP network system, and that we move away from stovepipes.
More efforts should be put into to ensure that the type of uses that Rob just talked about in an IP-based network will have the necessary capacity and the infrastructure to support that type of ubiquitous usage. So I definitely see spectrum as one of the topics that will be tackled.
We want to make sure that obligations, consumer protections, accessibility requirements, things like that apply in a reasonable way going forward to new mediums, and that people who rely on those protections are not left behind.
If we start to put in this pro-consumer, ecosystem in terms of the innovation and advancement of these delights that we have all come to partake in, the question that becomes with net neutrality, how far do we want to go with stringent regulation that stifles what we're actually seeing in terms of these successes?
If the FCC reclassifies broadband as a telecommunications service, I think, frankly, you can put on the shelf any idea of having comprehensive telecom reform in the Congress to come. That I think having that be injected into the congressional setting, which it inevitably will be if the FCC reclassifies, just destroys any opportunity to get to these more fundamental issues and to pass a comprehensive Communications Act reform.
And I'm optimistic that Congress will be able to rally around a set of issues, a set of rules that will be put into the statute, give the FCC very clear direction in terms of what you should do to protect consumers in the broadband age, and this is the time to do it.
As a Democrat, it might come with some credibility when I say that having one party, in this case the Republican Party, in control of both houses of Congress and in control of the leadership of the Congress committees in the House and Senate, they actually facilitate the consideration of Communications Act reform. It creates the opportunity, for example, for the leadership of the Congress committees on a bicameral basis to talk about a common agenda, perhaps even to agree on what some of the fundamental elements of telecom reform should be, and to create a workable foundation for that debate to begin to take place, more or less simultaneously, perhaps, in both the House and in the Senate. It's also apparent that only issues that have a bipartisan foundation and a fairly broad range of bipartisan support can make it to the finish line.